Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Joining us right now from Washington, D.C. is Senator Jim DeMint. He's the former senator from South Carolina, and he is now the president of the influential conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation. It's good to have you with us again, sir.
Hey, John, it's good to be back.
All right, so you're hitting the road, so to speak, to fight the president's signature legislation, Obamacare. And of course, you were one of the most outspoken critics of the bill while you were still in the Senate. But you've also said that when you resigned, you could be more effective on issues like this from outside of Congress. Are you finding that to be the case?
I sure am, and I did when I was in the Senate trying to elect some new people to the Senate. The key to saving our country, to turning things around and really putting the government on the right track is getting people informed and engaged all over the country. If Americans decide that they want to stop this unfair and unaffordable bill called Obamacare, they can do it, but the congressmen and senators themselves will not do it. They'll not take that kind of risk or have that kind of fight unless the American people rise up and effectively tell them that's what they want to do.
Now, you're going to a series of town hall meetings across the country, all the way from Florida up to Indiana as well, other states in between. What do you expect to learn from these town hall meetings?
Well, we've actually been doing that for the last several months. I've been in about 45 cities, meeting with a lot of activists, a lot of Tea Party folks, independent groups, just talking about what we need to do as a people to turn our country around. But we're going to focus on this Obamacare bill, which increasingly people know that it's unfair. I mean, Congress is getting special favors, big unions, big corporations are getting waivers, and it looks like just the little guy is going to get stuck with the bill here. And people are getting notices that they'll either lose their insurance or it's going to cost more. So I think over the next few months, when we tell people that we really can stop this bill, if the House only passes a government funding bill that doesn't include Obamacare, we can stop this bill in its tracks. So that's our hope, is that as we talk to people and tell them how they can get connected with their congressmen and senators and how they can make a difference, that the American people are going to rise up and say, no way, we got to stop Obamacare.
This is a real point of debate, a real point of contention right now, and I want to get into the prospect of a government shutdown, a threat levied by Senators Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Mike Lee, as well as some House members as well. They want to push for defunding Obamacare, and if that doesn't happen, they say they will not approve a debt ceiling increase or further funding for the government. There is a lot of disagreement about this within the Republican Party, about this potentially maybe doing more harm than good. I know you've come out in support of this push from Cruz, Rubio, and Lee and others, but I wanted to get your reaction to what former Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney said. And I'm quoting him here: "I badly want Obamacare to go away, but stripping it of funds has appeal. But we need to exercise great care about any talk of shutting down the government." What would come next when soldiers aren't paid, when seniors fear for their Medicare or Social Security, and when the FBI is off duty? What did you think about Romney's comments?
Well, John, since when do Americans not fight for what is right because they're afraid they might lose? We all know this is a terrible bill, and in fact, the more we learn about it, the more we understand it's going to hurt people, it's going to hurt our country. This may be our last chance to stop it. And the only way to stop it, when the Republicans only control the House, is to fund the government, but not to include any funding for Obamacare. Now, if the president decides he's not going to accept government funding and allow the government to shut down, then it's going to become apparent that he's letting the government shut down because he wants to save this failed bill. So this is an argument we can win with the American people, but only if we decide that we're going to stand up and fight in the first place. So our job at the Heritage Foundation is to stake out the principled position, to tell people the truth about the bill, tell them how they can make a difference, and I think the politics will follow. So we're not trying to come up with a political strategy here. We're trying to tell Americans that the only way to stop Obamacare at this point, before they have to start signing up on October the 1st, is if we fund the government in its entirety, but we don't fund Obamacare.
So you're confident that the party can win this case, the appeal, I guess, in the court of public opinion. You know, you've been very vocal about this. I know you support the defunding of Obamacare, as you just told us. But, you know, we have guys like Tom Colburn of Oklahoma, Richard Burr of North Carolina, you know, really blasting this idea. You know, but let's just say they are correct. There's potentially going to be some collateral damage if the government does get shut down for the Republican Party. But even if that were to be the case, you still feel like this is a battle worth having, and that no matter what, Obamacare should be defunded.
Well, certainly there are risks that we could lose this argument, but we know now from talking to thousands of people that over half of Americans want us to stop Obamacare, and that if we tell them the truth about the bill, more people are going to blame the president when this is all said and done. But if Republicans go and hide from this issue and don't do anything to stop a bill that all of them have promised their constituents that they would go to Washington and fight to stop Obamacare, if Americans don't see Republicans fighting for something they promised to fight for, that's going to do much more damage than the risk of possibly taking on the president and not getting everything we want. So if Obamacare is not worth fighting for and risking losing a battle for, I don't think there is anything worth fighting for anymore. This bill, it will do more damage to America, hurt more people personally than anything that I've seen pass in my lifetime. So it's worth taking a stand for. That's what we're doing at the Heritage Foundation.
No matter what the risk, the Republican Party should defund Obamacare. That's what you're telling us.
That's right. I think the risk of doing the right thing here is much less than not doing anything at all. So getting positive things done with this president is certainly going to require some risk. But we've got to trust the American people. They know this is bad. The more we tell them about it, the more they want us to stop it. They'll come down on the side of right if we give them the opportunity.
All right, well, this is a clear tactic that the Heritage Foundation is taking, very hands-on, and this seems to be your approach since you've been there driving the bus, so to speak, at Heritage Foundation. And Heritage Action, the lobbying arm of your organization, has also been stirring the pot on some issues like the Farm Bill. And this has drawn some criticism as well. A fellow South Carolinian Congressman, Mick Mulvaney, said he felt like Heritage Action misled him and some other Republicans on the Farm Bill. Was that the type of reaction you were expecting post-Farm Bill debate?
Yeah, well, John, I found out when I was in the Senate and when I decided we weren't going to change Washington until we changed the people who were there, and that includes a lot of Republicans. I went out and started trying to elect good people like Pat Toomey and Mike Lee and Rand Paul and Marco Rubio. Everyone said that was impossible, that I was risking my whole political future doing that. But those impossible things are now called senators, and we need to do a lot more of that, is just trust the American people. If we have good candidates, good ideas, good legislation, they'll side with us. So I have a lot more trust of the American people right now than I do of Congress. So that's what we're doing along with Heritage Action, is taking our case to the American people, and we know they'll respond.
Some folks said that Speaker Boehner's position was somewhat compromised. His leadership kind of was put in a tough spot on that Farm Bill. Are you happy with the results of the Farm Bill?
Well, it's still in play, but we needed to take step one, which was to divide the food stamps from the Farm Bill. I mean, 80% of the thing we called a Farm Bill was really food stamps, and food stamps are out of control. I mean, we've doubled the cost from $40 billion to $80 billion just during Obama's time. So that was a good first step. But the rest of the Farm Bill needs some reform, which they didn't do in the House. So there's still some room for improvement. And I keep reminding the politicians that our job is not to come up with some political strategy here at Heritage, but it's to talk about the right position, the principled position based on what really works for Americans. And so that's what we're going to keep talking about. And we found if we are loud enough and active enough that the politics will follow.
All right, well, another issue that seems to be causing some tension in the GOP are these upcoming primary races in states like Kentucky, Georgia, your home state of South Carolina. First, I want to start with Kentucky, where Senate Minority Leader, I should say, Mitch McConnell is facing a primary challenge from a guy named Matt Bevin. Competition is usually a healthy thing, especially in a free market economy, which I know you support. But is this type of competition good for the Republican Party when the leader of the party in the Senate faces a tough primary challenge like this?
I think primaries are always good for our party, particularly at this time for Republicans. There's no consensus leader of the Republican Party nationally right now, so there's going to be some jostling for position, but we got to coalesce around the right ideas, and primaries tend to have those battles out before the general election so that the voters can see what these candidates really stand for. So I didn't really like primaries when I was a senator or congressman, but they were good because I had to take my case back to my district or my state, and the opposition took their case, and the best man won, at least in some cases they do. So I think it's healthy. It's certainly not a comfortable thing for an incumbent to go through. But right now, the Republican Party really needs to sort out what it believes, what it's willing to stand for, and not keep drifting all over the place because of a fear of Obama.
Now, let's also look at South Carolina if we can for a second. You obviously know a lot about that state. You've won a statewide race there. Senator Lindsey Graham is being challenged as well. You and Senator Graham are on different sides of this immigration debate. Graham's been one of the Gang of Eight bill's chief proponents, but does this make him vulnerable in South Carolina in the primary race, his support for the Senate immigration bill?
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't have a sense right now if the Republicans are going to make it a single issue race or focus on one or two things. Lindsey's a good friend of mine. We agree on most things, but on some big issues like immigration, we've been on opposite sides. So this is a good time for the people of South Carolina to decide who they want to represent them in the Senate. So it's an opportunity for Senator Graham and the opposition to put their ideas out there. This is a healthy thing. We need to do it all over the country. It's been good for the party. That's how we ended up with prominent leaders like Ted Cruz and Mike Lee. We had tough primaries, and a lot of times the people who are not supported by the Republican Party are the ones that win, and that is sending signals to the Republican establishment that conservatives around the country want strong conservative leaders, and that's something we obviously support.
Well, the House, of course, is expected to take up immigration reform in October. There's a lot of pressure on Speaker Boehner from inside his own party as well as from outside the party to get something passed and make sure that this debate does not do further harm to the national party with minorities. Can the House draft a bill or a series of bills that both helps the party on a national level as everyone looks ahead to 2016, but also still wins the support of groups like Heritage Foundation and other Tea Party and grassroots groups that are so against the Senate version of the bill?
Well, conservatives like myself are very much for immigration reform. We've got to have an immigration system that works better, that controls our borders, that allows guest workers, temporary workers. There's a lot of folks in the technology industry that need more high-tech visas. There are a lot of things we need, but these things should not be held hostage for granting amnesty to those who came here illegally. And we've talked to thousands of Hispanics, and we know that Republicans are not going to win their votes by passing an immigration bill that grants amnesty. If Republicans want to win the votes of minorities and immigrants, Hispanics, or all Americans, they're going to have to demonstrate some genuine sincerity towards that they want immigrants here, that they're going to create opportunities for them, expand job opportunities. And the things that we care about, family and community, are the things that all Americans care about. So it's really a matter of demonstrating that we care. And certainly as conservatives, I want to play a lead role in making sure that all Americans, whether they're minorities or not, know that we want their lives to be better, more prosperous, with more opportunity, and that we've got the ideas and the policies that'll make that happen. That's what we have to show all Americans.
Now, would you agree that something needs to be passed by the House to exemplify that, to show that to minorities?
No, I don't. I think there's probably nothing the House could do in this political environment that could work to be a positive as far as Americans are concerned, and that includes Hispanic Americans and others, because the bill is going to be divisive and it's going to create more controversy than it does unity. Republicans need to move towards what immigrants, Hispanic Americans really want, and that's opportunities, it's jobs, and it's recognition that they're important to all of us. And so that's what we need to do. Passing a bill is not going to win votes. In fact, I think it's likely to do more to hurt the Republican Party right now than anything else.
Now, to some degree, and you've mentioned amnesty, I guess this immigration debate can be boiled down to one question, and that is, how do you define amnesty? And Senator DeMint, how do you define amnesty?
Well, if you reward people who came here illegally, that's amnesty. And putting people on a path to citizenship is amnesty. And putting them in front of the 4 million people who've been waiting sometimes over 10 years, a lot of times paying thousands of dollars to get on a citizenship track or even to get here work. To put people who came here illegally in front of those people is not right. That's amnesty. So it's just not a good route to take, and to do that first is the wrong way to go. What we talk about at Heritage is let's fix our immigration system one step at a time, controlling our borders, creating a workable worker identification system, a good guest worker program that allows immigrants to come and go for those jobs that we need, whether they be in farming or hospitality or construction. Those are the kind of things we need to do first. And then we'll have a system that we can use to deal with those who are already here.
So in other words, anything that allows people who are here illegally at this point in time to stay in this country without having to go back to their own country, that's what you would define as amnesty?
Well, if you give legal status to those who came here illegally, that is amnesty, and that's not the first step of an immigration reform. What that is just something, it's going to make it worse. Ronald Reagan knew that after he allowed it to pass under his administration. What will happen is in a few years we'll have several million more illegals. The same argument will be there. And what it does is create an immigration system based on illegal entry rather than legal entry. That doesn't make any sense right now. We know how to do this right, and we can do it in a way that encourages legal immigration and recognizes how important immigration is to our culture, our heritage. And that's what we focus on here at Heritage.
Lastly, Senator, I wanted to focus back on politics before we let you go. There's some new poll numbers out of New Hampshire. I know, but nobody really wants to admit they're looking ahead to 2016, but we all are. And on the GOP side, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is out front with 21%. Next is Rand Paul with 16%, followed by Jeb Bush, Paul Ryan, Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz, as well as a few others. I know Heritage does not endorse candidates, but I wanted to get your take on this poll and what it tells you about the GOP prospective field for 2016.
Well, John, the important thing for us right now as the leaders of the conservative movement, and certainly we are part of that leadership, is not to focus on a person, but to focus on the ideas and the policies that will move our country in the right direction. What we intend to do over the next couple of years is to take these ideas to the American people, to focus on connecting through better communication to all groups, people from all walks of life, to talk about the ideas that we need to move our country back towards prosperity and opportunity and freedom. And what we want to do is make those ideas so persuasive and so pervasive throughout the country that candidates embrace them when they run for Congress or Senate in 2014 and when they run for president in 2016. So we're not as concerned about the person right now as the right ideas. That's what I think we were lacking in 2012, is a consensus platform that was inspiring to people. And that's what our job is here at Heritage, is not only to develop the best policies, but to learn how to create the messages that actually connect with the American people. Hopefully the candidates will follow that lead, but that's the leadership we hope to provide over the next few years.
All right, fair enough. I do want to just give you an opportunity real quick. If you want to let the people watching this know where they can go to find out more about your town hall tour coming up here to discuss Obamacare, please let us know.
Okay, well, heritageaction.com is again, it's our sister organization, independent from Heritage, but they work to promote the ideas that our researchers and scholars come up with. And I'll be traveling with Heritage Action to about 9 or 10 cities, I think, in the latter part of August. So go to heritageaction.com and you can find out that schedule and a lot more about what they're doing around the country.
All right, heritageaction.com. We'll put it up on the screen here. Senator Jim DeMint, president of the Heritage Foundation. Thanks for your insight, enlightening conversation, and good luck on that listening tour.
Thanks, John.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.